live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 19 of the 21-day challenge called the Cold Spark. I am Coach Hélène with the Coolest Journey, and I am joined live with my guest, Gabriela Herrero. I'm just going to turn off the sound over here. And yeah, we are live on YouTube. We have been going live, Gabriela, every twice.
5 days.
Yeah. Day 1, day 5, day 8.
10,
I
8.
can't count. Thanks, Sister 3. Day 8, day 12, day 15, and day 19. So that's when you join me on these live calls. And on day 21, I'm going to have one last final call. I'm going to be all by myself. But basically, this challenge, this 21-day Cold Spark challenge, I created it so that people can start to build a cold exposure practice from the comfort of their own home. And it's really meant for total beginners. So throughout the different days and weeks, we've been building on different aspects. The first week was just get your cold exposure. The second week was momentum. And this third week is about identity and transformation. We did a pretty good call, I think, on day, I have to count, 15, Gabriela, where we did talk about identity and transformation. So today, I just like for us to chat about the different questions that people have asked us, have asked me throughout this challenge, and have asked us as well through the years. Now, what we do is beyond the home practice of a cold exposure, like mini exposure every day. We go beyond that. We're exposed anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes, skin outside in the cold, swimming in the water in the winter, but it doesn't matter in terms of the questions that we get could be very similar in terms of the experiences, and some of them are very relevant. So do you want me to start, Gabriela, with the very first question?
Yeah, and I have some questions that interesting enough today somebody asked me. So yeah, definitely. Go.
All right. So the first question, and it's not in order that I sent them to you, Gabriela, just so you know, what is the best way to get adapted to cold? So what's the best way to get acclimated to cold? And there are different ways of answering this question, but I just want to make sure people understand there are different ways to get cold exposure. You could do it, and we've talked about this many times during this challenge. You can do it in your shower, in your bathtub. Maybe you hold on to a glass of water with some ice cubes. Maybe it's an ice pack. Maybe you put your feet on a bag of frozen peas that doesn't explode on you. That's what happened to me day 2. Maybe you just go outside and you expose your skin to cooler air. These are all different ways of doing it. Maybe you go into cold water like what I have behind me, or what, Gabriela, you have as your background is, that looks like Lake Ontario, Burlington
That's like
Beach.
Burlington Beach. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Gorgeous. So there are different ways you can get your cold. At the end of the day, what's the best way? The best way is whatever way is going to work for you in a way that is a regular practice. And we talked about the temperature that you keep your home at. What temperature do you sleep at? In the northern countries, when it's winter, it's a lot easier to sleep in colder temperatures because you keep it low, right? Without the water freezing in your pipes. But you could do it gradually. You could do it sudden. That's what I'm trying to get down to. So either you say, oh, I'm going to start today and I'm going to go cold turkey. I'm bringing down the temperature. You like that, huh? I'm bringing down the temperature. I don't know. Let's say you were at a comfortable 22. You're bringing it down to 17 in your home. So there's been some studies on this in terms of brown fat activation. Huberman Lab talks about it in one of his podcast episodes. I just can't remember which one, but I thought that was a pretty fascinating one. It takes about a week for someone to adapt to the cold when you do a sudden jump like this. You can be cold the first days. You are. However, at one point, the body adapts. Now, the way that I favor for cold exposure, because we want someone to stick with it, not go, okay, I've had it after the third day, never come back, is a gradual exposure, which is what I've been doing when I created the program. So we started with 30 seconds, just the hands, 30 seconds with the feet, and then we just the face, and then we increased that to 60 seconds, total body exposure plus the hands and the feet. So you can see there's a gradation here in terms of how you are exposed to the cold, and so that you can build that adaptation to cold. So what is the best way? I think everyone is different. I mean, it's like asking someone what's the best way to go vegan. I don't know. Are you the type of person who are you going to say overnight, this makes sense to me? I'm getting rid of all of the animal products in my fridge and I'm going vegan now? Or are you going to say, I need a little bit more adaptation. I'm going to figure out my meals. What am I going to eat? So I'm going to finish what I have. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever makes sense for you to do. But one thing is for sure, whether you're doing it suddenly or longer term with slower progression, they both work. It's just that if it's short term, like if you rip that bandage and you go from 22 degrees to 16 degrees in your own home, you might be cold and not liking it. So that's a different, you want to like the process to keep going with it. Do you have anything to add to that, Gabriela?
I think it's important to just know what your intentions are. If my intention is just to do cold dips, it's easier than if you want to become an ice swimmer. Like, I know the challenge is just to get exposed to the cold, but in my mind, also the way I want to do things would be different. I think if I'm going to go deep, it's easier than actually thinking I'm going to swim and I'm going to have this routine every day of going to the lake or the ocean or whatever I want to go. So just have a clear objective of what you want to do so you don't get overwhelmed and think that, yeah, if I do this week, I'm going to swim 500 meters in 2-degree water.
That's a very good point. It also brings up the point about why. Why even do a cold exposure practice?
True.
There's a lot of reasons, and that was part of the questions that I had. Like, why do I even want to do this? I'm nice and comfortable. I like my life the way it is. Why? Well, the question is maybe more why not, right? There's a number of reasons why. I mean, it could be health, from a purely health benefit. If you have some chronic pain, you know what, cold could be your best friend. Like, wow, what a difference. Your life could be completely changed. If you've had some type of brain injury, once again, oh my God, cold, miracle. If you get ups and downs in your days in terms of your cognitive faculties, in terms of how sharp you are, and you need to refocus, you need to recenter, cold is your friend, really. It snaps you back to the moment. Now, it also helps to feel alive in your own body. One of the issues in our society right now is that we're so much on our, devices, we're on our phones, we're on this, we're on that. We don't necessarily think about our bodies, and the cold is a way, it's an extreme sensation on our skin, and it's a way to bring us right here, right now. There's nothing else that matters, and it helps us to re-inhabit our body. So all of these whys, I mean, your why could be, Gabriela, your why could be completely different from mine. And maybe someone else starts to practice I started cold water swimming out of boredom. Okay. It was COVID. It was nothing else to do. I was bored out of my mind. That's how I went to Lake. Actually, I went to that spot right behind you, Gabriela. And yeah, it was absolutely amazing. That's actually a sunrise picture. Nice. It's right behind your head. It became something else. The first why was, I'm bored, I need something to do. And then it became, oh my God, I feel so much better after I go in, normalizing my hormones. Almost, I think it took not even a month. My hot flashes were gone. And these were hot flashes. Part of it was perimenopause, but the big issue was a car accident I had been in, which is so much literature on the endocrinian system, how it's affected by TBIs. It's so if you have some type of traumatic brain injury and you feel like your hormones are all over the place, please consult a doctor, talk to your medical team, because there are ways to address this. Cold for me was the answer to that problem that couldn't be addressed at the doctor's office. But check with your team. And cold in general, you want to make sure that you're doing it in a safe way, always safe way. And if there's any question about whether or not you should be doing this, talk to your medical team. Always, 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 always. So anyway, tying it back to the why, you start for a reason. Maybe you continue for another reason altogether. Boredom, then it became, oh, I feel good. Oh my God, my hormones are normalized. My migraines are gone. Chronic pain is gone. My mood is lifting. I'm feeling awesome. I'm connecting with people. I'm connecting with myself, but I'm connecting with nature. And there's just something that I felt like spiritually I was being elevated higher. That's just, it's like a full body reset, full mind reset, full spirit cleanse every day that I'm in the water. And it's just, there's an element of play as well. Anyway, those are all my whys, but the first reason was not necessarily this big goal, Gabriela, like, oh, I'm going to swim 500 meters in 2-degree water. Like, no, my goal was
And it
just,
wasn't at the beginning. I didn't know, right?
yeah, yeah. And for you, it was your first winter. So I think if I go back to fall 2020, you started to swim with me because of the
I
novelty of
had
swimming in the winter?
no, I had been invited to go cold, but one, do you remember the swim between the piers in Labor Day?
Yes.
Okay,
Peer to
the water,
peer.
the lake had flipped, so it was cold. So most of the swimmers went in with wetsuit, and there were just two people without wetsuit, and one obviously was me. So when I jumped in the water, the kayaker was I forgot her name, lady, and she told me, "Oh, you might enjoy cold water swimming. I do that," and I said, "Oh, that would be super interesting." And then she told me, "I do it in Mississauga." And I'm like, ooh, it's a little far to go for cold swims. So she said, well, if you want to join me any day in the winter, we are always at Jack Darling Park. But I never went because it was so far away from me. It was like 35 minutes to go and 35 minutes to come back. So I never did that. But then my last half Ironman um, was in Welland. And same thing, I was the only one with no wetsuit. So it was something that it was already in me, and the curiosity was piqued by Catherine, Kat.
So
And
that's why
yeah,
you
and then
started.
that day that this thing showed up on my Facebook, it was like, yeah, I'm going, and I am in there.
So just so people understand, it was a total fluke. I posted something on Facebook about, oh my God, I'm swimming at Burlington Beach. I love it, blah, blah, blah. And by then we're in October, I think. The water's getting cold. Anyone who wants to swim, I'd love to have a swimming buddy. I was swimming with Steve at the time and he couldn't make it necessarily every day. And I was a little leery about going in there alone. I didn't know the lake enough for that.
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
and we should never be swimming alone. Let's put it out there to begin with. But, sometimes we do things that we're not supposed to do. But I would not, for the first 2, 3
No,
years, I would not swim alone. So, but anyway, I just post in Facebook and then this wild woman answers me to say, yes,
I'll be there.
and then that was the beginning of an extremely, extremely amazing friendship. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's been quite the ride, and we haven't
Ah,
stopped yet. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So for you, it was curiosity piqued. You wanted to do it. You knew you had the ability because you swam in colder waters, but
Yeah, not as extreme cold, but yeah, I was okay with no wetsuit. I was the only crazy triathlete with no wetsuit.
Yeah.
Mont
And
Tremblant, no wetsuit. And yeah, I know you float more, blah, blah, blah. But it was so uncomfortable that I rather had been cold than actually be strangled by that.
and just because you've talked about this before as well, just to point out something, all your life you've been exposing yourself to cold, and you've preferred working in colder conditions.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, like
So
I've told you, I shoveled snow with no gloves and I was able to go outside and with no shoes while there was snow, things like that that I liked. Even before
yeah,
I knew Wim Hof,
yeah.
I would not run a
Oh,
marathon in the Himalayas with no shoes, right?
yeah.
But I was doing things naturally. Um,
And this comes back also to how do we adapt to cold? A regular cold exposure practice. So one, it activates that brown fat, which is so essential for helping our metabolism or metabolic health. Um, but it also helps us, especially for us in colder climates, to better survive the cold and to be more comfortable with the cold and to say, yes, I can go outside in the cold and not feel like I'm going to die. We're not going to die. We're going to be okay. But for people to start a practice at home, like it may seem like baby steps, but really this
it makes a difference.
this program was really created to set you up for success for a lifetime. If you wanted to pick up cold exposure now or later, or maybe you start now and you take a break, maybe you continue, it's entirely up to you. The more regular of a practice, the better you become at it. It's like a muscle, right? The more you flex it, the stronger you become. So the more you expose yourself to the cold, the more adapted you become to the cold. So that in answer to that question that someone asked me, like, how long does it take for me to adapt to the cold? Well, maybe a lifetime, but I
Yeah, it
remember
depends. Many, many things.
but I remember bringing someone with me in December. It's a few Decembers back, but it's here in Vancouver. It's a guy I met at my local aquatic center, and he told me, "Oh, you swim in the ocean. I'd like to join you." And I'm like, "Sure." It's a bit cold right now. It's December, and I think there was snow on the ground, right? And she's like, "But I take cold showers. I think I'm going to be okay." And I said, "You know what? If you take cold showers, you're already at a certain level cold adapted. Okay, so come in 2 minutes and then get out. We do that, and he's like, I'm completely fine. Okay, so then we bumped it up 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, gradually, right? Every time, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. I think within about 4 or 5 outings, by then he was at about 8 minutes, and he's like, "No, I'm ready. I can swim. I'm fine." Okay, so let's swim. So we kept it at 8, 10 minutes, and then we went higher. How does he recover afterwards? How does he feel during, but how does he recover afterwards? But because he had that practice of cold showers to begin with, he told me he had it for years and years. It was helping him with his ADHD, it was helping him with his stress, it was helping him with all sorts of things. He had depression as well for a little bit. So all of that's why he started to do the cold exposure. And he said to me, I knew I could do it because I could stand in a cold shower. And I know enough of the breath work that I know I'm okay to counteract the cold shock response. So I thought that was quite fascinating. And I'm finding that people who do have some type of cold exposure practice do better in their initial open water outings for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to mention something quickly because you started saying about this person. Um, I find that sometimes it's like driving in the snow. The first couple of days, there's a lot of accidents because people forget. And I think sometimes I do forget how to change, what not to do before I go swimming. And this is important. Why? Because if you get your feet and your hands cold before you go in the water, it will stop you from being immersed more time. And this happened to me not long ago. I went to the beach. I love taking pictures. I take pictures of the sunrise and the seagull and this and that. And I had my hands out. And then I had to take the temperature of the water. I took my Crocs out and off, and I went to the water. So touched the water, and my hands, and then I went into the water, and my hands and my feet obviously were in pain, and I had to come out. I couldn't get dressed, so it turned out to be a bad experience. So be mindful of how the steps that you take in order to do this. Always have your hands warm, your feet warm, and start undressing without taking your gloves off, and just to go in and enjoy the experience. Because if you take too long with your hands and your feet exposed, or even your torso, whatever part of your body, you will not enjoy it.
And it's the same thing for the home practice, right? Walking into the shower, if we're already cold with cold hands, cold feet, it's going to be a miserable experience taking a cold shower. And then warming up might take a long time, even if it's within a controlled setting, right? It's your own home, you have heat there. You know, you have to be wise. Yes.
I did an experiment, like I told you I was going to do, and I forgot to mention it. Usually, I take my cold shower after I finish showering. And I don't like very hot water, but I like hot water, and I do everything and then have the cold water. And that's because I feel that the cold water will make my skin and everything better, right? That's why I do it. But it's really hard, and get the back. So the other day, I turned on the water, but I put it really cold. And I said, I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in. And because it was cold outside in the bathroom, I went in and it was easier. Like I was able to put my back right away. And then I put the hot water. Obviously, I didn't get that cold that the hot water would hurt myself or anything, but it was easier. But afterwards, it was like my body said, you need your cold shower.
It's interesting.
Because I always do it. And I was like, should I do it? And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to see what happens. So I went out and I was warm and I was happy. But yeah, my body said, there's one step missing before you get out.
It's interesting how our bodies do speak to us. The bodies like routine. And I think it was also on the Huberman Lab. He was talking about how when we eat at specific times, we start to salivate even before that. So let's say we always eat at noon, not 12:01, not 11:59, exactly noon. A few minutes before, we're going to start salivating. Whether we see the food or not doesn't matter.
I'm salivating the whole time because I eat at a lot of different hours.
It's just because our bodies are conditioned, right? So there's cold coming, I want my cold. And when I don't get my swim in, and we talked about that, it's like a drug. If I don't get my swim in, if I don't get my cold in that day, my body is not in a state of panic, but almost. So since I started 5.5 years ago, I think I've missed 12 days of cold exposure. That's it. And that includes even travel days and all of that. It's all in there. I've missed only 12 days. And because my body screams at me, you need your cold. You need to get cold today.
Interesting. I don't know how many days I've missed, but way more than that.
But you also expose yourself to cold in different ways, right?
Yeah, and I do 2 or 3 times a day, right? Like today, I'm gonna have to get brioche out. Oh, for example, today my plate fell because of the snow, and today it snowed and it was -6 in the morning, and I had to do something with the plate. I couldn't get the screws to get in, so obviously my hands were uncovered, and I had to go with those, I don't know how you call those white things. It's like what they use now to put instead of handcuffs, now they put these white things.
The tire,
like a
tie wrap, or
I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So I had two because I use them for my bike. So I had two in the car, and I'm like, so I was able to do it. So I was exposed at that time. Then I took brioche out. Then I had groceries in the car. Like there's a couple of times that I do that without knowing. Obviously, I don't do
Mhm.
it because I have to, but there's so many different ways that you can do it.
Yeah. And even just wearing less clothing, right? Like I'm wearing my big fluffy over here to stay warm, but I could be in a tank top. And so that I'm exposing more of the skin to the cold air. And that's also another question that someone asked me, why am I always in a bikini top? It's because I'm trying to maximize the skin exposure to the cold. And when I'm swimming in cold water, first of all, I was a pool swimmer. I don't think I really swam in a lake until I was about 18 or 19. And I really didn't like it. It was in Tremblant, really my first experience. And I mean, I like to see the line, knowing exactly where I am, or rather, I used to like to know where I was.
Mm.
Now I can't stand a pool. I much prefer being out in the ocean. I don't mind the lakes that we have over here as well. There's in BC, we have turquoise, emerald colored lakes. It was very, very clear waters. Absolutely unbelievable. The difference is that this water is not full of chlorine. So there's a big difference between um, this hyper cleaned, it's chlorinated water, and then the natural bodies of waters that we have. Why did I start to talk about this? There was a point I wanted to make. Oh yeah, the adaptation to the swimming environment. You know, Gabriela, you were saying in your bathroom, the air was cold, so it made going into a cold shower easier. In the pool
Mhm.
area, the pool air is warm by law. There's a certain
Yeah, there's a
differential
difference.
between the air and the water. They can't go, there's the range that they can't exceed either above or below. So the air has to be, I don't know, let's say 4 degrees more or closest to the water. So it's really warm. So if your water's at 22, it's about 24, 25 air temperature in there. Or it's about 20, 21. So it's plus minus. But you'll never walk onto a pool deck where it's going to be 12 degrees and your water's at 22. That in Canada anyway, you
No,
can't.
unless
And
it's outside.
yeah, yeah. And we feel that outside. So in your bathroom, cold air, cold water shower, easier to get in. For us outside like this is cold. That was minus 15 on that day. So it's a bit colder, but let's say it was 0 degree water, not that bad going in because it's about the same temperature, same as in your bathroom. So there's different ways of adapting to the cold and how it feels on us, but it comes back down to that regular cold exposure practice that we have. So the more
Yeah,
you expose yourself to cold, the easier it becomes. And the why. Why do we do it? Right? It's not just in terms of survival, but because it makes us feel good,
yeah.
connected.
And I think doesn't matter how many things or how little things people did during these 21 days. It's a great thing. So kudos to everyone, even if it was just holding a glass of cold water, even if it was just exploding peas or something like that. It's everything that you did was amazing, amazing, amazing. Be happy and just keep doing it. Yeah, like
Yeah. Give
it's
yourself a good tap on the back. Bikini top, also why I was bringing this up. So bikini top, when it's cold like this, you just pull one string, shoop, and top and bottom are gone like that. One piece bathing suit, you have to shimmy out. So if you're in your shower, your bathtub at home, you're doing this, you feel comfortable, you're controlling all of this. But as soon as you step outside, you have to rethink your equipment, obviously, right? Unless you go to a nude beach. And there are some nude beaches around. Um, and in many ways, it will be more comfortable to swim nude without having a cold, damp piece of fabric covering you. But basically, once I moved to BC, I was still having some issues getting out of my bathing suit. So I just tried a bikini just for,
mhm.
maybe string bikini will be easier to get out of. And sure enough, it was so much faster. So now that's all I wear. It's just those string bikinis. And now I think like, why didn't even that? I could have started wearing those right from the get-go when I was in Lake Ontario.
Yeah, I don't wear a bikini. I just wear my normal bathing suit. And yeah, sometimes it's harder to take it off, but I can even keep it. Like you remember, I kept it a couple of times going to the aquatic center. I
Don't know how you
honestly, it
do.
doesn't bother me.
Oh, just so people understand, I mean, I get out of the water, I need to get everything out right away, because it's cold, clammy, it goes against the skin. So at least to remove that, and then my skin keeps it's cold after drop, right? So your skin keeps getting colder and colder, even in the car. For some reason, my bum gets really, really, really cold. So for me, the thought of sitting in a wet, cold, clammy bathing suit in a car, that is my no, thank you. That's funny
I
how we
think
all
my
have,
secret is I don't even think about it. I just put my robe and just go.
yeah. I remember one time you told me
And
you had forgotten you had
yeah, I
your bathing
forget to
suit on.
take it off. Now, the thing in Vancouver was that it was warm for me. Like when it's so cold here, I don't want to waste time. So sometimes I just keep the bathing suit, put my robe on, and go in the car. Now, I always remove this because this bothers me. So this is the part that I remove, but then I just zip it up and just go home.
Right.
But yeah, I probably rather don't take the bathing suit off sometimes.
So a quick little thing I'm going to add on to this. And maybe that's why I'm so adamant about removing it so quickly. If you are a woman who's had a lot of UTIs, urinary tract infections, or kidney bladder infections or kidney infections, you absolutely want to remove the wet bathing suit as fast as you can, because cold, wet, damp in the nether regions is going to promote UTIs. Guaranteed. That's in the literature. I've had plenty of talks with my urologist about that. And I've had surgery on a kidney, and I almost died of a kidney infection. So, and that kidney infection came in through a UTI, then bladder, then kidney, because I was cold and somehow my cycling shorts got damp, and that's what triggered the whole UTI and everything. It makes us more prone to having these infections.
Yeah. Now the
So
bathing suits nowadays are also fast dry. They're not like they were before, that they were even sagging. Like now they're so thin that they dry fast. But yeah, you have to be careful,
I'm
obviously.
laughing because I still see a lot of sagging bathing suits out there.
Ah, they still use the ones that they used when they were little.
Yeah. Anyway, so we talked about adaptation to cold, why we do it, what's the best way to get cold, what's the best way to get our cold, and the best way to get a cold adapted. The best way to get cold, there is no best way as long as you get it in. Won't I get a cold from exposing my skin outside like I was doing with recording my video? Gabriela.
I think that's how do you say, an old wives' tale that you get cold, like if there's wind, or another one that I get all the time is your hair is wet, you're gonna get sick. I don't get sick. I think also because of the cold water, your immune system gets stronger, but I have never gotten sick at -30 or at -15, getting out of the water, taking time to change, and then go into the hot and do hot yoga. I have never, never, ever been sick. Now, if you're prone to colds and things like that, that would be something that you need to evaluate. But I have never seen anybody, honestly, with a cold, swimming or getting out of the water, whatever. No, nothing.
Uh,
Another
yeah.
thing that doesn't happen, my muscles don't cramp, or you feel the muscles like they get tight. I also don't feel any of that.
There was a whole conversation in a group I'm part of, which is called the Renaissance Swimmer. It's organized by Simon Griffiths from Outdoor Swimmer. And this is a great resource for those of you who are starting a cold exposure practice and you're thinking maybe one day you want to take it to swimming outside, maybe. Outdoor Swimmer is a beautiful resource online. They have plenty of articles. They organize talks every month. They have an amazing magazine. I love receiving I get the paper version because I need to have paper, and I absolutely love the pictures and everything in there. But that's one thing that we've had as a conversation, is the fact that most of us, our immune system is actually quite strong. We can withstand a lot of these cold exposures without getting sick. So it's not just an old wives' tale, right? It's just the way maybe we're building our immunity as well through this activity. There's something to be said with the brown fat activation because we expose ourselves to the cold, and there's also cold shock protein activation. Both of these reinforce our immune system. So exposing ourselves to cold does make us stronger, but there's not enough research once again on this topic. Wim Hof is actually one of the forefront figures pushing the research on this, which thankfully he is doing. Susanna Soberg is more into contrast therapies. It's not quite the same thing, just like pure exposure to cold without the heat and seeing what happens to the body. So to your point, Gabriela, we're not going to catch a cold by going outside with less clothes or the wet hair. I could see if someone is predisposed to catching whatever goes around. And if they're cold, if they're not comfortable, if they're shaky, that's not a good space to be. So if the body's already challenged, then it could make them more prone to other types of infection. But otherwise,
But it
nah.
has nothing to do with being cold or hot.
No, well,
But
it's just,
that's another topic. But yeah.
yeah. Oh, and one thing I'm going to say, have you noticed it as well? If we're sick and we still go expose ourselves to the cold, things go faster through us. Yes?
I swam with COVID. I mean, I
I
didn't have
could,
the COVID that I had to be in a hospital, right? Obviously, but
yeah,
I
yeah.
I I I had COVID and I went to the lake.
COVID, and
The-
I had all sorts of other viral
Yeah,
infections hit
colds
me
and
as
things like
well.
that. Now, if I feel like I need to be in bed, I go to bed.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
overdo it, but yeah,
listen to your
I've been
body.
swimming sometimes with colds. But I don't get sick very often. No, I don't know if it's that or it's just genes, but
I know that at one point I had one of these respiratory infections. My sinuses got blocked. So I was trying to at least put my face in the water to exhale, but I was doing water running. So when it's like that, I keep my head up and I just do whatever, right? So that's why I call these outings. People can do whatever
mhm.
they want in the water as long as they get out and they enjoy themselves and they have a good time. They're exposing themselves to cold. It's all that matters at the end of the day. If you want to bring that into the performance and do swimming and sets and sprints, that's a whole other conversation. And we're going to have a whole other series on that. But at the end of the day, you want to go outside, you're going to be fine. You're going to be just fine. And you swam with COVID. I ended up with, I don't know which broken bones. I still go in the water. The sinus infections. I had myocarditis as well. It was following influenza A that transformed into myocarditis, and still I was going in the water, couldn't breathe, but at least my head was above the water and I was still in the water. So I think it helped me. I think if anything, it helps the spirit. And if our soul and spirit is happy, it helps with the recovery. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you have any heart issues, blood pressure, pregnancy, medications, Raynaud's,
Yeah.
check
Check
with your
with your
doctor.
doctor. Always, always,
Always,
always.
always.
Okay, another question that I had is, okay, I did the 21 cold spark. It sparked an interest in cold. How do I find other cold water exposure buddies to safely start a practice outside?
Facebook, Instagram,
That's how we
because
found one another.
it is becoming very popular to do these things. There's a lot of resources. Look for open water swimming, cold water swimming, Wim Hof. I think there's a lot of community with Wim Hof, open water swimming, and also what was I gonna say? I said I have to say this, and I completely forgot. Oh, you can start your own, just like Alen did.
Yeah, you start your own group and you make sure that you go somewhere safe, that the water is clean. Um, yeah, and you did go slow. Start low, go slow. Do the same slow adaptation. It's just a question of making sure the water quality is good. If you go to a spot that the water quality is not being monitored, there are some tests out there, but they're not the best. They're just not the best.
Yeah, but
We
the
don't
colder the water, the less
less
it's in
chances.
the summer when you have to really check the water quality, but
Yeah, well,
depending on
we get sewer overflow over here in Vancouver. There are sewer overflows in Lake Ontario, all through the St. Lawrence River. I checked, there's a couple of maps that you can look at in North America, and you'll see it. I mean, it's been the standard of building city sewage systems, these combined sewers. So when there's a lot of rain coming down, all of that storm water gets mixed with the raw sewage and ends up in our waterways without being treated. So I've got
even with
a
the
video.
raw, even with the sewers, like it cleans everything. All the pee and the poop from the dogs and all the animals and the birds and people spitting and da 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 da. Da. It all goes to the lakes because if it rains, it goes down. But something that I've learned that it's fantastic, and if you're going to do something with open water and you're going to start going to the lake or the ocean or a river, is how much you learn just by observing every single day how the lake changes or the ocean. Or I am amazed, but sometimes the lake just spits out wood and you walk and there's just wood or just like those mollusks, white mollusks, and
Oh.
the whole beach is white, or just plastic, little things like that. It's like, wow, it's a whole entity doing stuff for itself, so it cleans itself, and the
Mm-hmm.
fish pee is not going to do anything.
Well, if it's fish pee, it's one thing. I was just going to say, I have a video that's going to be coming out. I've recorded it already. It's just a question of releasing it, but it's about how to check the best ways possible, how to check for water quality in your area. Apart from starting your own group, looking at Facebook, Instagram, Wim Hof groups, look maybe if you have a cold plunge facility in your area, even if it's a
Mhm.
private one, maybe ask them if they know of any group, because they might organize a group to go to these outside places, and then they, bring back everyone at the private place, and then access to sauna and change rooms and all of that. So that's another possibility as well. Apart
Yeah.
from that, yeah, just keep your eyes open, keep reading, inform yourself, educate yourself. But that's pretty much. How do you find them? If you don't find them, then make your own group.
Now, another thing that is happening, and it's everywhere in the world, is these new spas where they have the ice tubs and the heat, right? That you go into a sauna. Here in Toronto, there's like two new ones, and I think Oakville is opening a new one. So, because it's something that's fashionable right now, lots of places are doing cold heat repeat.
Yep. The
Uh,
contrast therapy. And
mhm.
it's getting more and more popular. So my local community center, and this is a city-owned community center, has the cold plunge and two saunas and a steam bath. And I do believe that that's coming up more and more in the newer constructions, replacing the older facilities. So hopefully people will have more access to cold plunges in a controlled environment, like a pool facility, which would be city owned versus or municipally owned versus private, so it would be more affordable. And so that it's another stepping stone before going outside in open waters.
And
Yeah.
well, also there's a lot of on Amazon, you can buy your tub. I don't know how they do it with the ice. Like I remember the only time that I've done an ice bath was after I was training for my Ironman, and I had to buy like 6 bags of ice and put them in the bathtub. It was horrible. It worked, but it was kind of like buy
So
because my fridge was not gonna make enough ice
yeah.
in the
So
bathtub.
I mean, I'm not an expert in this, and I guess you're not either, but you can buy these inflatable insulated tubs on Amazon. I think Home Depot sells them, Costco sells them. It's
The spa
widespread.
places send them, all the spa places.
Yeah. So it's inflatable, but they also have, many of them have an external filter on it and also a cover. So you buy those 6 bags of ice that you dump in, and maybe it's going to last you a week or 2 weeks. I don't know how long it lasts, but you can keep your temperature consistent in there so that, and the water gets filtered so that it doesn't accumulate any mold or bacteria. It doesn't become a cesspool of bacteria. But there's ways of getting our cold in, right? But how to find
There
the
was a
friends? Yeah.
Yeah, there was another person that she bought one of those big garbage bins, the plastic ones, big one. And every day she would just go outside and put the water from the hose and immerse herself. And then and she kept doing it. I'm not gonna say in the summer because the water would be even hot from the hose, but she kept doing it up until like April and then October when the water was colder. And every day she would go and then put the water in her plants, which I think that's very good. So you don't want to have like a fancy one with filter. That's
A good
another way.
idea.
Yeah, there's tons of ways of doing it. You can get
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm thinking about that. Or she could have just put on her bathing suit and doused herself as she's watering the plants at the same time. But one thing that's different with swimming versus or floating versus a shower, even a bathtub, is that we're floating. We've got the whole buoyancy thing happening so that the nervous system gets deactivated. So if someone is doing this to help manage chronic pain or traumatic brain injury, that's definitely something to consider, or even an injury, right? Like you've got an injury to a shoulder, you can't really move your shoulder on land. In the water, your shoulder is going to go there because it's the buoyancy that's supporting it. It's like having something underneath your arm. So it's good for range of motion as well, swimming. A few more questions, Gabriela, and then we're going to be done. I tried, but my feet, my hands, my back were in pain. It was too much with the cold, like the needles, it felt. How do you do it? How do we get through that initial feeling?
Well, I think that is something that doesn't go away. That's a normal biological reaction of your body, the pins and needles, because it's rewarming. You lost all the blood flow in hands and feet, so you're gonna feel it anyway. You get used to it, and sometimes you feel it more, and you should never, never, ever try hot water to calm that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I
yeah, it
agree.
does. I don't think it goes away. I think your brain gets used to it, and you will tolerate it more. Don't be afraid of it. Just learn to feel how your body reacts to it and how much is too much.
Hmm. Um, there's also breath work. We've been doing a lot of breath work during this 21-day cold spark challenge. And I'm going to explain more about why all of these strange things that I was doing, like the lip flutter, and hopefully you did it with me. But what the purpose is. And one of them is the long exhale, which we were doing yesterday on day 18, was 5-second inhale for 20-second, or a 5-count inhale for a 20-count exhale. And that is to help mitigate the cold shock response, which is what we're talking about right now. The feet, the hands, like, oh my goodness, this is hurting. And it could be this, you could have this cold shock response even in a cold shower at home or in a cold tub at home. So how do you get through it? Breathe. Just inhale, nice long breath as you're going into the water. And over time, you're training your mind. It's going to be okay. You just have to, keep breathing through it. It's all going to be good. And then usually it takes 60 to 90 seconds and that initial feeling goes away. But if it's really unbearable, don't just breathe, remove yourself from the situation and think about, okay, what can I do next time to make sure that the reaction is not going to be as strong? Maybe wear little shoes like pool shoes, or wear some mitts, some gloves, so that the reaction isn't as strong. And therefore you're still in the water, but over time, maybe you continue wearing these, maybe you don't. Maybe you eventually you get rid of them. But always think about, how do you progress? The progression here is really important. Where are you now? How can you progress to wherever it is that you want to go?
Yeah. Now, something I wanted to mention is, one thing is the shock response, and the other one is the feeling of pins and needles. Because the pins and needles, you can feel it at the beginning, then you wait a little bit and your body gets used to it and you can stay there longer. But then when you come out, you will feel it again because it's the rewarming. So
Not sure if it's
it's
the
a different,
same. Yeah, it's a different
it's
feeling
a
though. Do you
different
feel it's the
thing.
same? Yeah, because the shards of glass that I had in my feet the first, I think it lasted about a week, 7 to 10 days, when the lake flipped. I think it was in October, and I had so many problems with my feet. Oh my goodness, it was, I almost had tears coming down my cheeks. It was so bad. And I was just breathing through it. And then I've never had that pain ever again. So, and the water would have gone possibly from 17 to 10. And now I'm at much colder water and I don't have that feeling anymore. So I think it's just a question of, we need to get adapted, but a part of it is how we view the experience of the cold in our mind as well. And that we trust our body that it's going to be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but there's nothing.
we're like both leaving space for one another. I love it. How long do I need to stay in to get hormones to normalize? No more hot flashes. Okay. So I worked with about a group of 30 women on this. And what we did is we gradually increased the length of time that they could stay in cold water. Now, this was not cold exposure at home. This was cold water outside. And we found the sweet spot to be somewhere around, it depends on how cold the water is, but let's say the water is 8 to 12 degrees. If someone can stay in the water about 12 to 16 minutes every day for about a week, hot flashes usually go away. And there's no science behind that that's proving this. This is just from observation with a group of 30 people. I wish I had the funds to fund studies on all of this stuff, but I don't. So there you go. It's 8 to 12 degrees. You just slowly raise your how much you can tolerate the cold, and about
But this
that time.
is just to a question that comes from me, because I don't know. I have not tested that myself. But when you talk about hormone regulation, it just would be for hot flashes. Like it would not do any, because hormone regulation opens a Pandora box, right? So it's just hot flashes.
thermoregulation in the body, which is a dysregulation of the hormone or endocrine system. So to be clear, but this specifically addresses the
Hot flashes.
Yeah. It's basically like our inner thermometer is completely out of whack, and this helps to reestablish it, and it normalizes those hormones. Now, what it also does, and we know this because of all of the different hormones involved with a cold exposure, there's endorphins, there's all sorts of other things. There's a whole bunch of different things. There's like 5 or 6 different hormones involved. And so it helps us to feel better longer afterwards as well. So in that sense, it's mood altering as well. So it's helping us to feel better. If we're upbeat, then we can do more things, the things that we want to do, and it gives us joy and gives us a sense of purpose as well. So that it's hitting many, many different spots at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
And oh yeah, I thought that was pretty funny given what happened recently to me. How are our cars holding up to transforming into sauna cars? So
Sorry?
So how are our cars mechanically doing with being transformed into a sauna car every time we get out of the water? So I'll tell you, this came from a mechanic in the sauna that was asking me that question, because I was saying, yeah, I get out of the water, I drive to the local community center and I crank up the heat and I put the fan on high, and he was like, I don't know how good that is for your engine to have that done every single time for about 20 minutes. And I said, well, funny you say that, because I just had to have they call it the blower fan, but it's basically the ventilation fan motor had to be replaced on our very old Prius. And my friend's car, CJ, also had some issues, and she was told not to bring the temperature at maximum along with the fan at maximum when we get out of the water. So there's got to be some, apparently it puts a lot of strain on the car, especially when we do it repeatedly. And if you have an electric car, like my friend CJ, it could be draining. I can't remember how exactly it works. It's not just a question of draining the battery. It's that it's stressing the whole system. So it's not very good for it. So how are the cars holding up? Well, we have 2 instances over here of our cars being like, no, maybe it's not a good thing. But we can still put it on high temperature, just a lower fan, and maybe higher fan and lower temperature.
What I've noticed at the beginning when we were at the lake and we would wait for maybe half hour that we were all in the car and everything, that was bad because the car was idle.
Yes.
First of all, you're contaminating, and second, the car is obviously working double shift. So before it was because we didn't know, we have the after drop, we were learning a lot. But I think you cannot do that you stay in the car forever and warming up inside a car that it's idle might be even bad for you.
Because we talked about this, the better ways to warm up, it's not to sit in a car, and you want to hold on to maybe a cup, right? It's something ceramic where it's going to bring the heat from the drink to your hands. And maybe you move, you walk, you jump, you do some, I want to, not crunches, but you would do some squats,
Jumping jacks,
anything, right? Just anything to warm up, but to warm up naturally. Vacuuming is the number one activity we were talking about. Vacuum your place. So you take all the sand and the crud out of your home.
oh my God, that's another thing.
Yeah,
that's another course.
But basically the cars are, but your car was fine though. I don't think it ever.
Yeah, my car was fine, but I don't because I don't like the
Yeah. You weren't putting it at the same extreme, I think. All right, I think that's it. Let me see if there was another one. Oh, I think I have to ask this one because you do both on the same day. If you're cold adapted, does this mean that you're going to suffer in the heat? Meaning, if we adapt our bodies to the cold, we shift our comfort level more towards the cold, and then we become more sensitive to the heat, which is at the other extreme.
With what I feel, I would say yes, but with my, for example, when I was with you and I told you I hate washing my hands, that the water comes hot, like that was since I was very young. Like anytime you go to a restaurant or at the airport, I don't know why, but the water comes hot. I hate washing my hands with hot water. But something that I've noticed is when I'm swimming in the cold, my fingertips are more sensitive to like my mug with really hot coffee in the morning. Usually I was able to transport it. Now I can't. I have to hold it
Lance,
from the ear
yeah, this,
because my now it's my terminals, right? So obviously they were affected somehow, I suppose. But I do these extremely.
yeah, because you do the cold water swimming at one point during your day, and then you do hot yoga in the evening. Yeah, and I go to the sauna. So basically my routine is I go to the ocean and then I go to the gym where I finish warming up by doing resistance training, and then I go into the sauna. And I could do 20 minutes in the sauna, but I'm not in the hottest spot. The higher we are, the hotter it is. But I'm in there for 20 minutes usually. But I would not say that I'm heat adapted. I've never done well with heat anyway, my whole life.
Yeah, no, me
Uh,
neither.
yeah, so maybe we're just not the right people to ask. But in terms of research, I couldn't really find much on the topic. Um, Once
I don't think
again,
it should because our bodies are warm by default.
but well, and once again, we have both cold shock proteins and heat shock proteins, and we can activate both through contrast therapy. So if we do 2 minutes in the cold and we do 10 minutes in the heat, then that's pretty good. But if you're pushing it more, which is what we're doing, which is way beyond the 21-day challenge, but if you're in the water for 15, 20, 25 minutes and it's 0 degrees outside, the water is anywhere between 0 and 6 degrees, that's a whole other level of cold, and it lasts for a long time. Long time, it depends per person, but for me, it'll be at least an hour. And once warmed up, even throughout the day, I'm not looking for heat, but I'm not looking for cold either.
Yeah,
Right?
I don't know. I don't know. And I think also you get heat adapted. People that live in the tropics can tolerate heat better than us
Yeah.
because every time I go to Mexico, everybody's wearing their coats and you're in shorts.
Yeah, you're going like this, whew. And then they go, oh, there's a Canadian walking.
Well, at some point they could say a menopause woman or
uh,
a
uh,
Canadian, but I never suffered I never suffered
the
hot
hot
flashes.
flashes. Okay, we have to finish with that story that happened
Yeah.
to us because we're talking about, oh, there go the Canadians, right? And how we're cold adapted versus heat adapted. January 2021, and it must have been January 4th or 5th. It wasn't long after January 1st. Adora had already left for BC. You and I are going swimming in Lake Ontario, and it's pretty wavy, so we can't swim. So we're just, bobbing in the waves, and we're having a good time. And it was what? It was possibly -5 outside. The water
Yeah,
temperature
it
would
was
have been,
colder, probably
yeah,
around 2, 3 degrees.
yeah, the water temperature would have been 2, 3 degrees. And so we're having a good time, and we have our tow floats, to make sure we're visible and all of that. But it's just the two of us, and it's a gradual beach. So we had to walk about what, 75 meters or something like that
75 meters, yeah.
to be at least waist chest deep. Anyway, we look at the beach, and all of a sudden I felt like I was on a set. of
Oh,
what's that? What's that? I it just the name
what's the program? It's
um
it
Watch.
escaped.
Baywatch.
Baywatch.
We thought we were in Baywatch, and we see these guys, and I think there's 4 or 5 of them. They're
5 of them.
on the beach towards the water, and they're wearing their swimming trunks. You know, the pecs are flexing, the hair is going in
The
the wind,
hair, it looked amazing.
and we looked at one another, and we're like, oh, we were screaming at them. They didn't look like they saw us, and they weren't that far from us. And we saw them running in the water, and then as soon as they got the water to about what, knee
The
height,
knees, they went back.
not even mid thigh, they turned around and they all ran back to the parking lot. And we never saw them. Like, that was it for us to see them on the beach. So we're like,
Hey,
come and play
hello,
with us.
here we are.
No, nothing. So much for visibility in our tow floats. We get out of the water, we change, and we're walking back to the parking lot. And it's a big parking lot. Turns out they're parked right beside us. And they're
And they
like,
were still warming up. Like,
"Ah, that was good. Warming up. They see us too. And clearly we had swam because we were still wet. And they just stopped and they looked at us like, huh? Like they've seen mermaids. They've never seen this ever happen in their whole life. And we're like, yeah, guy, we saw you guys going in the water. And they're like, yeah. We're like, we were in the water. We're like waving at you,
Yeah, we were like, hello.
calling out to you. And they were like, what? And like, yeah, we saw the whole thing. And they were like, we saw you. They were
Yeah,
so
they did.
focused on getting in. Part of it was probably they were in a group. There was that group feeling, right? So a bit of distraction happening, which is a good thing if you're trying to figure out how to do cold shock response. But make sure you hang out with the right crowd, because this crowd was like, and so they all turned around. Yeah. But anyway, so we were saying, we were in there and we saw you guys. And of course, the next question was, how long were
How
you in there
long were
for?
you there?
And then we were like, well, I think we had been like 14, 16 minutes or something. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
probably. I don't remember either, but it was we were there for a while because we were playing in the waves.
Yeah,
And we
it
were
was fun.
laughing so hard with these kids. And nobody believed us. Do you remember? Nobody was believing.
Well,
They were there.
the thing is, these kids, they were all like, I don't know, 20 to 30-year-olds, and they see these two over 50 middle-aged women like mermaids come out of Lake Ontario in the middle of the snow and the ice, and they're like, what? Talk about mind blown, like, what? And they're just like, and then I realized one of them had a shirt with CanFit Pro. So I'm like, oh, are you a personal trainer? Because I'm a CanFit Pro personal trainer too. So we started, and he's like, yeah, this is my gang of my buddies, because I told them we do this January 1st and we didn't. So I'm bringing them here today, blah, blah, blah. And they're still like, they're talking to us and they're not processing what they just seeing and talking to us. You were in there for 14 to, we couldn't even be in there for 30
They could
seconds.
not get
And we're
even to the waist.
and we're big and strong. Like, what's up with these? What's the deal with these two women? And then, of course, we tell the story to the rest of our gang, and they're like, yeah, no, you're making this
Yeah,
shit up.
whatever. You're making it up. The cold is affecting your brain.
How can we even make this up? Anyway, so that's the story for cold adaptation. And it really, honestly, it doesn't matter how old you are, you can get cold adapted. It's just a question of a regular practice, and remember your why and take it in steps. Go start low, go slow. Make sure you've got medical clearance for any potential issue, and yeah, and never do it alone. Yeah.
Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
And on that note, thank you so much, Gabriela, for being a part
Thank
of
you.
this
Thank you.
21-day cold exposure challenge called the Cold Spark. I really enjoyed having you with me. And
Thank you.
if people want to connect with you, they can do so through your website, existence coaching, through LinkedIn?
Through Instagram or Facebook as well.
Because you do executive mindset coaching, you do performance coaching, you do
Performance coaching. Yeah.
yeah.
And I am an observer. If somebody out there wants to do an eye smile, that is something
Yeah,
we should probably talk
another
at the
time.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The L1. Yeah, if someone needs a bigger goal with this
Yeah.
cold exposure, they can look into um, uh, International Ice Swimming Association, ISA, or the World Ice Swimming Association as well. They just had their big meet in Finland where people are swimming distances like a pool competition, but outside in the cold. So yeah, there's all sorts of ways to keep your goal, to have new goals every year and to keep stretching yourself and make it fun, because we don't have enough fun in life, Gabriela. That's why we do this together.
Yeah, that's why we do this together. Yeah, we had so much fun.
That's why we have these crazy stories. Oh, the skies.
They end up instead of us asking for our autograph, they were asking for our
They were ready. They were like almost to the point where, can we take a picture with you? They were
yeah,
almost there, almost there. So thank you,
which we have
everyone.
stories about pictures and videos.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, just people, so you know, it's more common now, but you might get asked if someone could take a picture of you because they want to send it to whoever around the world, that they can't believe someone is swimming in ice. Happens
Yeah.
regularly. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching today. Thank you, Gabriela,
Thank
for
you.
being
You're
here.
welcome.
I am just reminding people today is day 19, so we have 3 more days. Today, 20th, 21st, and I'll do a live on the 21st as well. And that's it. And we are going to end the live stream right now. And thank